Welcome to the Clean Power Hour Live. I'm Montague, your host. It is October the 31st. It's Halloween. John Weaver, my co-host, commercial solar guy. Welcome to the show.
Hey, Tim. I hope you have a nice day. It's Halloween. I'm not going to drive anywhere. I'm going to ride my bike, walk around today, watch all the kids running around, see if I can get some candy. It's a good day.
Yeah, it's a good day. It's a good day. I'm fresh on the heels of visiting Nashville. Thanks to Gil Huff and his staff for putting on a great event. TenneSEIA is an interesting market. It is the TVA, the Tennessee Valley Authority. You know much about the TVA, John?
Founded in the 1930s as part of the big deal, as part of the New Deal, has a whole lot of clean energy, a bunch of hydro, a bunch of nuclear. They might be like the cleanest utility in the nation. I mean, amongst them, 80, 90% plus clean. Is that true? Am I right? Am
I don't think so.
Oh,
I think it's more of a spread between hydro, coal, nuclear, and they are in transition. Though it was refreshing to hear how much solar is coming on in the TVA. There's some utility scale projects. Silicon Ranch looms large in that market. They are a developer and asset owner. Very interesting company because they own the real estate, generally speaking, and they're very forward about conservation, agri-solar, agrivoltaics, cattle voltaics. So there are some utility scale PPAs happening, and then there are some community scale solar projects happening. It's very early days, though. What was a big surprise for me, though, and this is, I think, typical of smaller markets, there's a very robust group of OGs in the market who've been around. I met a company called LightWave Solar, shout out to LightWave, that have been doing solar since 2006, and they pretty much own the Tennessee market. And they're expanding also into other markets like Illinois. Southern Illinois is not far from Tennessee. When you go down to the bottom there, I'll put actually, let me put a slide on show on screen. So here's the TVA, the dark green. It encompasses all of Tennessee, but then also parts of Alabama and Mississippi and Georgia and a little bit into Virginia and North Carolina. 7 states total, but of course most of Tennessee. And but the transition is happening in the TVA as well, and that was good to see. And I have this theory, though, John, that when you're working in a smaller market, like the payback period for solar in Tennessee is greater than 10 years because they don't have specific incentives and they have very cheap power. When you're working in that kind of a market, you develop a knack for, really going after resiliency, for example. And that's true of LightWave. They're doing batteries on all their projects now. And I had a similar experience at OSEA 2 years ago. But yeah, it was a good trip. Fun to be in Music City. I got to hang out on Broadway a little bit, catch some live music, and it's good to be back. But I gave a talk about microgrids also, which I would be happy to share slides with anybody if you just reach out to me on LinkedIn or at cleanpowerhour.com. I'll send you my slides. What's new with you besides Halloween, John?
Wow, new. Working on a cool battery project on an agrivoltaic facility. Moving into winter time and wet time with construction and shorter days. Had an
RFP. The fall is construction.
Yeah. Had an RFP come back because the institution decided they didn't want to move forward with a project that in their best interests. So Don't know what that means. Makes me feel like it's like, oh man, we got a good bid, but we still weren't good looking. Something. Even though we were the lowest price bid, and we didn't get a real answer. So, just normal business stuff. So yeah, lots going on. Just lots going on. There's new in the solar world. I can talk to you about lots of cool stuff there, but business wise, always things moving.
Yeah, well, let's get into the news.
Yeah.
We have a story about silver prices. Silver went over $50 an ounce.
Yes.
And that translates into the value of used solar panels or new solar panels, or both.
Both. So here's so if you wanted to share that link, I did a little math, put it on Blue Sky. But the price per ounce of silver is now over $50, or it's right around it right now, pushed a few bucks over it. I read some neat stuff about why it occurred, and a lot of it has to do with literally, this time Indian internet influencers saying that gold is too expensive. So this year, instead of buying new gold, buy silver. It's cheaper times, 1/8. So yeah. $50 versus 4,000. But that mashed up the value of gold or the value of silver, because now the largest population on earth is just buying it casually for looking good. And so it pushed up the price. It's also been going up for a while because of solar and its bigger demand. Solar is like 10-20% of silver demand. So two things have now occurred. One, the price, and if you have that screen up, yeah. So the price per module of how much silver is now $8 to $15 in old-timey modules. The price to recycle a solar panel is $10 to $20. Then they have all these other materials. Now, because of the silver added in there, modules, older ones, are suddenly valuable. If a decent-sized module is worth $30 and it costs $20, $15 to recycle it, that's $15 a module profit. And I know some people that make more than that and have a lower cost per unit. So at minimum, old modules are now suddenly bankable from a professional recycler's perspective. So anybody throwing away a module, a professional recycler would be very upset, because that's good module. That's good money for them. And then if you look at new modules, I tried to do the math a little bit further south, you can see what it might cost today to put, you can see how much it adds. And it's, $7 to $15 when we get up to the 8,000 watt modules. If you scroll down just a tiny bit, you can see the net value per module. So 8,000 watt module, roughly $15. But if you run the numbers, 15 bucks.
8,000 watt module?
Yeah, 800 watt, not 8,000. Yes, 800 watt module. That's how many milligrams of silver, but that ends up being almost over $15. So for an 8-cent module, it's now a 9-cent module, but silver's 20%. Silver's now the most expensive component behind the silicon. It passed the aluminum frames. So blue pad. I mean, it's the most. This is recycle value, but when it comes to initial cost, because silicon's real hard to recycle, but when it comes to initial cost, it's now the most expensive component. So,
yeah.
So that is interesting. It's going to push recycling of solar panels, but it's also going to push new technology like ICO. ICO is a high efficiency module manufacturer. They do back sheets only, and they have a 25% module in the field. You can't find too many of them because they'll make a bunch, but they're out there. And they use copper on the back of their modules instead of silver. So that, I think, is a really interesting story from the manufacturing side and from, I guess, the O&M side of solar. Your solar panels are now worth money, and those recycling companies who are starting to catch up with things, they're probably doing well financially right now.
Yeah, while you were talking about this, I looked at the relative price of silver and gold, and they are both spiking.
Yes.
Um, I don't know that you can save money by investing in one or the other, but
But they are both
and,
spiking. I have 1 ounce of gold. I bought it just so I could have a chunk, just because it looks cool. And just in case things go sideways, like
yeah, I mean, there are people that think that gold is a good way to be a prepper, and I'm not convinced. But I think liquor, cigarettes, batteries, solar panels, more batteries are probably more valuable than gold. But you got to have something to exchange things with, and yeah, maybe gold will be a thing.
Well,
let's talk about Masdar.
yes. So Masdar is their big Middle Eastern developer that's associated with, I think, the Emiratis.
Well, Masdar is a community also, so I'm confused. It says, oh yeah, it says developer Masdar. Huh.
Yes.
So we're talking about the UAE, the United Emirates, right?
Yes. And which one is this? Which one is this? Is this, scroll down a bit, where it's located? So this one's going to be located in
Abu Dhabi.
Abu Dhabi. There we go. So yes. So of the Emiratis, we are in Abu Dhabi.
But the story is that they're developing, or Masdar breaks ground on world's largest 5.2 gigawatt, 19 gigawatt hour solar plus storage project.
The headline is terrible. Really what they should say, this is the world's first utility scale 24/7 solar power plant. Because the detail here that's missed in this headline is that the grid connection is 1 gigawatt. So they got 19 hours of batteries at 1 gigawatt plus 5 gigs of solar. 19 plus 5 is 24. There you go. 1 gig of base load energy around the clock. So if you think about that, 19 plus 24, that's what you need. And there's going to be excess solar. So there's going to be solar filling up the batteries all day long. And this is near the equator. They're probably going to have 8, 9 hours of sunlight per day, in many times. So this is the world's first base load solar and storage plant. And it's a gigawatt plant.
Yeah, it's here in the U.S., a very large solar project would be between 1 and 2 gigawatts. I don't know if we've exceeded a 2 gigawatt plant yet for an individual project, but yeah, I got to give it to them for going large, and I love the 19 gigawatt hour battery.
Yeah,
I see it's the J Solar. J and Jinko.
Yep.
Yeah, J and Jinko providing the solar panels. What about the battery?
I believe this is
CATL.
Yeah, I think it's a CATL plant. It could be. Oh, there you go. Man, how big is that? Almost 20 gigawatt hours. There's pictures of it somewhere of the battery portion starting. It's only like digging out in the desert and putting down rebar into the sand, but that's the start. I have seen an image or two floating out there.
Yeah, I couldn't find
but
any.
this is cool. And any listeners and readers and whatever, you're gonna hear about this one 7, 10, 15 more times from us, because this is a cool plant. Just neat concept.
Well, it says it's going to be turned on in 2027, so they must be starting construction, huh?
Yes. Well, that's what this article denotes. Is the beginning of construction. So it's super early at it. Yeah.
All right. Someone tried to steal $7,000 from a residential solar company. Could tell from the beginning, but went with it. Cost me $15 plus time. What's the story?
Yeah.
There?
So I'm gonna write a story for BB Mag, but I had an attempted fraud on my residential solar company, and I want to make sure I tell everybody about it so they at least get a chance. And this is a standard fraud, but somebody reached out via our website. The first person that reached out said, "Hey, I'm trying to find a good installer for my dad." I was like, "All right, that's funny. If you guys are local and you can help us with this address, then I'll have him email you." And then, great, another person followed up, started texting with them. They're like, "Hey, we're moving into this house shortly. We haven't moved in yet, so we have to give you an extra $7,000." And it's for an authorization fee with the power company. I'm like, "All right." And when you get that extra money and you cash it, please forward me the $7,000. I was like, "Great, that's what I'm gonna do." And so I signed the contract. They FedExed me a big check, dropped it in my account, and then
You actually deposited the check?
Yeah. I wanted to see if it's gonna work.
You're a brave man.
Yeah. So I then they immediately start emailing me. "Hey man, how's the check? How's the check? How's the check? How's the check? You want to send me the wire? Here's the wire. Send me the information." I said, "Oh, hasn't cashed yet, hasn't cleared yet. Bank's still checking it out, still going." Just kept waiting, and then one day I logged in, boom, check returned. Took about a week, and I just wanted to bring out to the world what the fraud was, how it works, and just show everybody step by step.
The theory is you cash the check, but the money never clears your bank, but you send the money anyway.
Yes, you send the money. That's right there is it. They give you a check and then they pester you because you think, "Oh man, I got 30 G's," and they say, "We need 7 back." Great, you send that 7 back, and then 2 days later, their check bounces.
Yeah.
And that's what occurred. And so my first solar fraud on the Resi company. And it was fun. And there's some pictures down there of it. And they picked the name of a famous tennis player from Spain. So I'm going to call him and be like, "Hey, man, what's up? What's up with that?"
Who's the tennis player?
Silvio Terio, something like that.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know who the person is. Sorry. But pretty
All
cool.
right. Well, I'm glad you didn't actually get defrauded.
Yes.
Dylan McConnell says, "Not news to anyone that's paying attention, but pretty amazing figure of what is going on with residential batteries from CSIRO."
Yes. So you got to share this one.
What is CSIRO?
That is I don't know what it stands for, but it's Australia. It's Australia. So we're looking at the Australian market. Here, let me see what CSIRO, Australia. It's a government agency, but now I got to tell you what it stands for. Commonwealth Scientific Industrial Research Organization. I can't see the last letter because it's cut off.
Okay.
But what's occurring here is that a new energy storage incentive for residential solar went into place. And as you can tell, Timothy, something happened. Boom. Now, what's really cool, and in a different article, not here, is that another thing is also occurring with the batteries. 2 things, 3 things. Number 1, people getting batteries are now adding small 3 kW-ish solar systems. It does something interesting. It allows them to offset more juice, or these small batteries that are just really cheap now. It jives. So it's driving 3 kW solar installations at the small end, just like couple systems. The author who wrote the article gave a good name about it. Then they're leading to the average system size getting bigger. That's been getting installed. So the number of small solar systems coming out of the blue, like never really existed before. That tiny class didn't exist. But now the average size is going up from like 7 to like 10 or 9. And the thought is that because of the batteries, the economics work better, because exported solar, they actually pay for it sometimes, or it's worth 0. So now the battery is making it so daytime solar is worth more. And then the third one, they said that, so you got bigger systems. Oh, current systems are being retrofitted. retrofitted with battery, and they're bringing more solar to it as well. So it's leading to more solar systems getting installed, smaller systems, bigger systems, and retrofit solar. So there's now we got solar. Then we got batteries making the existing solar better, but now leading to more solar. So there's is it a virtuous cycle? This is a cycle. Something's happening here. The solar is causing the grid to need the batteries. The batteries are leading to the batteries, but the batteries are now making people say, "Oh, the money makes sense for more solar." And so we're now starting to see an Australian virtuous cycle solar battery solar loop thing happening, and that's kind of exciting to see.
Do you understand what the incentive is at all?
I do. I've seen it, but so many things I read that I forget so many others.
I'm just curious what they're doing. I mean, here in Illinois, we have a $250 per kilowatt hour incentive. So there's a data point for you. If you're listening, if you're working on incentives for states for batteries, that's kind of a good data point.
So
it's a good incentive. It's the people in the industry think it could be better even, but it's a good incentive.
So it looks like it's 30% off, and you get 30% tax credit. So similar upfront discount. There's no tax credit. There's no tariffs on batteries over there. And then it has to be VPP enabled, which
is great. All batteries should be VPP enabled.
Now, one thing that they have a high motivation of is that they have time of use on residential, I believe. And so this is really big for that type of stuff. Yeah. So VPP ready. Discounts. Yeah, there's all kinds of neat stuff. So yeah, I don't really know it in detail, but I do know it's very, let me just phrase it. The numbers show it. If you look at that sheet, you see something occurred, and batteries were getting installed because they had expensive electricity, but now they just doubled, tripled in capacity, right real fast. So, it's kind of neat. Good job, Australia. I hope someone else in the world starts to see that happen. That's a great curve there.
I mean, I understand how VPPs are good for whoever gets to own the battery and operate it. But if it's a hybrid, so to speak, where the consumer is buying the battery and owning it, but there's also like a grid operator that can access the VPP and manipulate the battery to, charge and discharge at certain times. How does the consumer benefit from that? I don't quite understand it. Is the utility giving the consumer some discount when that happens, when they manipulate their battery?
So there's different programs. I know of one of them very well, Massachusetts and Rhode Island. We call them Connected Solution here. They also have it in California, which they might have just defunded it. But in Mass, you get, in the Connected Solutions program, you get paid per event and you get paid capacity. So you get paid for existing, and then you can get up to $1,000 to $2,000 a year for your battery. And they pay you per event for how many hours. They have a map of when the hours might occur. And for Mass, it's demand charge management on a grid-wide level. So we're really using batteries to offset gas peaking power plants. And our gas up here is very expensive because most of our gas is liquefied, or at least a lot of it's liquefied that's imported. A bunch of it's from, it's just pipeline peaker plants with our distributed battery network. And then in California, they have a program where they were paying $2 a kilowatt hour. And then in Texas, if you're in battery VPP in the Tesla one, and I can find you a picture real quick if you wanted to share it, but you can participate in the wholesale market. But the thing that I've seen is that those wholesale headlines where Tesla VPP residential people are sharing their big old money, those things are going away because the big grid batteries are taking over and they're smoothing out the curves in Texas. So it's getting harder to make little pump and dump, pump your battery up and dump it in the evenings because the competition's getting smart and big and fast. So it's interesting.
Yeah,
Short window.
I just saw that there's been an energy bill working its way through the Illinois state legislature
It passed
called the
last
Omnibus
night.
Energy Bill, and it passed. And that legislation, I'm no guru on that legislation, but it does include some VPP language. So I'll have to dig into that and report on that on November 14th when we come back.
I'll be writing about it very shortly.
But yeah, just know,
there.
listeners, listen,
Yep.
for our listeners, California, New York, Massachusetts, you said Delaware?
So California,
there's a small handful of states that have good VPP legislation.
Rhode Island has it. New York has some. Utah has some VPP. California, yeah. China's talking about it. China's talking about a 1 terawatt hour VPP of here. All the things. 1 terawatt hour VPP of V to G.
Well, yeah, when you have a bunch of EVs, you could do that.
Yeah, and so they have in their 5-year plan. I mean, they installed 50%, not installed, sort of installed. They installed 50% of the new cars in the last quarter, year, or whatever, EVs. The volume of capacity of those are rolling power grid supplemental tools. You don't need long-term energy duration if you have widespread V to G. How's that? Because I think V to G holds so much electricity in it that we can manage stuff in a different way. So we'll see in the long game, but yeah, VPPs are pretty cool. I like them.
Yeah, if you have batteries, you want the VPP. I mean, the hard part is getting the batteries, I think, in the first place, getting incentives to get people to install batteries. Everybody wants a battery until they see the sticker price, All right, let's talk about your story on software-defined power. FlexGen's hybrid OS turns batteries and now solar into grid thinkers. Why did you write this story?
So I interviewed FlexGen, you, Scott, at RE Plus, and
okay.
It was nice. It was just smart to listen. I mean, I know, I'm still new at batteries, so I'm learning about the different management systems. So you have BMS, which manages the car. And then you have your EMS, which is kind of your brain that sits on top of the BMS. They both sort of manage the BMS, but like your car turns on, the engine runs itself and does all that stuff. You also have a human being, which is your EMS, which says, all right, now let's turn the car and let's go faster. So FlexGen is the human running the car, sort of, kind of. Mm-hmm. And it's just interesting to listen to them. They're you, Scotty, said within them they see batteries approaching, high quality, high tech commodity item, just like solar panels. And now you got your battery, but now you need a professional to help you maximize the value of it. And solar, we didn't really have that issue as much. We just put the panels up and they blast. Maybe we'll be creative and have east-west solar panels, or have a tracker, which is what the standard is now. But with a battery, you get to shape the electricity flow, and they're a little more complex to manage. So they have an operating system. They call it hybrid OS. It's Linux-based, and he was trying to describe the different layers of how you would run a battery system as for themselves. And they'll build a virtual twin in their laboratory, so that by the time the battery rolls out, they have a comparison, so they can understand if things are booting up well enough, if they're exporting enough. And then you can just kind of see the layers. You don't really have management within the cells because you can't get gear inside of a cell, I guess, which makes sense. But you can read what's happening in the cell. But definitely within the module and the rack, you have software and intelligence. And hybrid OS kind of touches those places. They don't really sit inside of them, but they could put their gear inside of it and read from inside of it, but they're not actually, within the rack, so to say. But it's just interesting to listen to batteries as they're becoming more professional, and I guess they always were, but now I'm starting to see it more. So it was just cool to listen to FlexGen and hear them talk about battery management. I spoke with another company, Battalion Energy, and they're helping me design my smaller system. And Battalion Energy also has an EMS, an energy management system, to help them run the battery. And they're helping me design my project out in my agrivoltaic battery project, which might end up being like 4 hours at 400, so 1.6 megawatt hours. Yeah, so this is their kind of an example dashboard of the different items you can see. One key piece of information is state of charge, which is really hard to understand for a battery because you got to know how much energy you have in there so that you can sell it. And if you're wrong, you'll be charged for it. I've read about the state of charge, and it's a weird thing to me that we don't understand how much electricity is in a battery. But I get that it's hard because you can't see it, but you have different ways of inferring it. But it's still not perfect because your battery could be worn down. So it's just a cool, interesting conversation that I had lots of questions, and really I wish I could have just shared the recording of it. So many smart things were said.
Cool. And is FlexGen tackling strictly utility?
It seems like it. Yeah, it seems mostly utility scale. They might go into C&I. I can't remember. My brain was just. I mean, the main purpose of this announcement was for them to talk about how they now help to manage solar assets. But I quickly just kind of started talking about batteries. But I think they're utility scale to the best of my knowledge. And they bought Powen. So Powen, a big battery company, went BK, and they bought their assets. So they're helping to manage the Powen battery assets now and trying to help that over. So this company is now going to have 25 gigawatt hours of batteries under management. That's a nice sized fleet. That's cool.
Yeah, Powen was making batteries, right?
Yeah, I don't think they were actually making them. They were probably
not making the cells, maybe, but they were making containers.
Okay.
Yeah, they were a player.
Yeah, they were one of the biggest. They were one of the biggest in the U.S. Top 3. Tesla's number 1, of course, but I did a great write-up on Tesla. Tesla has had a good year in terms of energy storage. Jim. I don't know if I put it on our list, but we should probably talk about how. I mean, we'll talk about Tesla again soon, but they keep pounding out the batteries, man. They're growing well. Tesla Energy is cool. Tesla Energy profit margins are 31%, whereas the rest of the company is 16%. So that's interesting to me.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about this Mercedes?
It's cool looking, man. Don't you want one? It's really not that cool looking. It's just the numbers that they put out were kind of aggressive, but they're talking about a paint, a spray on. It sounds like thin films. You spray them on.
Mercedes unveils a car with 20% efficient ultra thin solar coating. Yeah, it's intriguing. They call it a nanoparticle solar coating that powers the vehicle even when off and uses modules thinner than a human hair. It does sound like thin film.
Mm-hmm. Could be perovskites. We don't really know. Perovskites are sprayed on as well. And I don't know if this is a real car. It's just, it's probably just a cool thing they took a picture of. But if you scroll down, there's some neat stats on it, which I thought they were a little aggressive with, but they still look cool. They thought, let's see, 2,500 kilowatt hours a year, roughly 12,000 kilometers. That's like 8,000 miles. That's a lot of mileage for a car if you can squeeze out half of it from the sun.
Yeah.
Well,
it's not a bad thing.
Where's the number? So So
The
they have a
question
list.
is, the question, John, is always, what is it going to cost? Now, if you're
Tim,
buying a Mercedes sports
yes.
car, maybe money is not an object. So
Tim, amongst our friends, we don't ask these types of rude questions, Timothy. Come now. Talk to your trust fund manager, and let's go get a pair for the weekend. So yeah, I want to see some solar powered EVs, man. Come on.
yeah, I mean, the statistic that sticks in my mind is like if you had a Model Y and you covered it with solar panels, you could get about 15 miles of range per day.
Yeah.
So this sounds like it's more than that. But
Yeah, this is definitely a little more. Not a huge amount more. But they're all
15
covered.
times 365. That's 5,475 miles.
Yeah, this was covering the whole body. In Germany, it was saying 8,000. In Beijing, it was over 10,000. It was 13, 14,000. In Arizona, it's probably 100% solar car, man.
Right?
Go cruising in your solar powered Mercedes, dude.
I mean, it will eventually happen. Just a question of when.
Hey, so we
All
got
right. One or two more stories. What do
yeah, we'll do a real quick project of the week that's behind my head. There you go. So this is a what's it called? A foundation that we're building at our one of our projects, 1073. It's a carport, and here you can see us constructing the foundation. The wood, that's the forms. So the forms help us shape it. The white thing, that's a sonotube. That's just a real thick cardboard, like about an inch thick. Slide that down. That fills up with concrete, and it holds it in there so it can be a nice vertical shape. You can see a bunch of wood on top of it with little pieces of metal sticking out. I wish I could zoom in here. I could probably go find a picture, but those are the bolts that the legs will attach to when you sit the unit on top of that. And we have right now probably 5 rows of these, ranging from 11 to 15 per row. So I think we have 55 of these that we're building in a section of our show, so of our project, which is kind of fun.
And project is a how many kW carport?
About 3 megs of carport, 600 kW of rooftop.
That's a big carport.
Yes, with some batteries too.
And who's the host?
The host is somebody's parking lot. It's actually it's a warehouse. It's leased. It's not our project. We're just EPC. Well, EP and yeah, some engineering, some procurement.
But is it in front of the meter or behind the meter?
Standalone, front of the meter. 20-year agreement with the utility, selling 100% in the SMART program. That's what we have here in Massachusetts.
Wow. Yeah, to get a carport to pencil for community, it sounds like community solar, right?
Well, community solar is an adder. You don't actually need community solar in Mass. You can just sell it 100% to the utility. If you want to do community solar, you get like an extra.
But for 3 megawatts?
It's chunky boy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's nice. And then the state pays an extra 5 cents a kilowatt hour for carports, 5 or 6.
10-acre parking lot, huh?
It's help. Yes. It's a chunk.
I want to see that parking lot. You got another project here. You want to show? Should we put this on? Construction ongoing at Warwick, Rhode Island.
Yeah. Share a couple of quick pictures there. I think we should talk about something real quick afterwards. This one though, one last one.
Okay.
So this is just a few pictures of what's happening in Warwick. We have a 272 kW rooftop behind the meter. We're using KV racking, Q-cell solar modules, and SMA inverters. And this is just the start of it. The very beginning, us putting down the racking, put down some bricks to hold down the racking, laying it out. If you look at the first two pictures, you can see some damage from FedEx. That was really just you can see the hole in the box. And then if you put your head in the hole, you can see that the plastic grating on the inverter was busted. So we had a new one FedEx to us from SMA. Thank you very much, SMA. That was very fast of you. And Charlie from Guided Light Distributors, he's the one that turned it around really quick for us and got it replaced. So thank you, sir. And then if you go to the next image, next set of pictures that are associated with that are on the document, you see a couple more images of the site moving along pretty nicely. We'll actually be done on the roof and only.
There's another link on the doc.
Yeah, right below it, right below this link. There's 4 more pictures, and these are from this past week. And
okay,
yeah, and so here's the racking from above. I just thought it looked nice and clean. You can start to see that we got some cabling being run. There is the number of bricks that we got to put at the corner, the leading edge.
yeah.
Got to get 4 big old bricks sitting at the edge, holding that thing down. And you see our nice heavy safety rail. This is being installed by the Union Electric team, the IBW 99, and they're under Newport Renewables because we're not a union shop, but this customer wanted union labor. And then here's the, we're starting to pull cable, there's a lot of modules down now, so you can't see it in this image, of course, but we got the inverters out, starting to pull cable. And, I just thought it was funny. Like, there's a comment, I put it there at the bottom, but solar panels are borderline some of the most space-age cool technology we have on Earth. And we hold them down with bricks.
Yeah, it is kind of ironic.
Like, what was the first tool we ever learned about, Tim? We got rocks and fire. And we're still sort of working with rocks and fires, except now we're using engineered bricks and we're turning the giant fireball in the sky into electricity. So it's just a moment of, that's kind of cool. All right, super fast. I'll talk fast, Tim.
Super fast. What's this?
Small
and heavy demand?
Small batteries are selling out. So apparently, residential size battery cells, they're 100 kW battery cells, probably about this big. As the utility scale market has grown, manufacturers have stopped making these smaller 100 amp hour cells because 300, 500, 1,000 amps, 2,000 amps are becoming the new thing. Just like how modules had this explosion in size to find this new optimal spacing, battery cells on the utility scale are doing it. But what they're doing is leaving behind small cells, which are more viable for residential and smaller projects. Yeah. And I thought to share this for 2 reasons. One, inside the article, they talk about how battery manufacturers are expanding massively. Like, they talk about CATL, BYD, both building big facilities. But they also mention, and more importantly, is how these big manufacturers are leaving behind small battery cells. And it just makes me happy to hear battery people selling out and having a reason to build more capacity. Because, solar right now is funky with its capacity. It's really oversized for a little while. It can take a couple years to catch up. But right now, batteries are ahead. And so maybe that'll lead to some battery price increases, maybe some better profits, which motivates manufacturing. And we're in the early S curve of batteries. And just like that screen we saw with Australia, batteries solar now means the grid means batteries. And now we're jacking up batteries, which is leading to more solar. And what's that going to mean? Then we have Masdar. We keep having this dance back and forth. More batteries, more solar, more batteries, more solar. And those Middle Eastern folks are like, all right, all the batteries, all the solar, bam, done. One power plant. None of this dance up and down the power grid. So there's a thing happening right now. And batteries are our next thing. You gotta make your brain work like FlexGen. You gotta have a FlexGen brain and become the brain that runs batteries. So,
I do like to say that creating the value stack for batteries is rocket science, which is why there's very few companies that do it. But it's good to see storage coming on. It's good for the grid. It's good for consumers, business owners. It's good for everyone. All right, we'll be back in 2 weeks on the 14th of November. And you can find all of our content at cleanpowerhour.com. Hit me up on LinkedIn. I love hearing from my listeners. Where can our listeners find you, John?
CommercialSolarGuy.com is the best place. Contact us for them. You can also come to Cambridge. I'll buy you a beer.
There you go. All right. I want to say thanks to all our listeners for being here, and tell your friends about the show. With that, I'll say let's grow solar and storage. Thanks, John Weaver.
See you, everybody.